to win right now. Like, you built to win right now, and you're putting this much faith and this much pressure on a kid that ain't played no snaps and was hurt all last season.
McCarthy.
JJ McCarthy.
JJ McCarthy.
JJ McCarthy.
Has been a winner. Everybody literally enjoys being around him.
Yeah. JJ McCarthy is a winner. He knows how to win.
The stage was set and the pick was made. JJ McCarthy walked to the podium, shook the commissioner's hand, and the moment shifted from talk to reality. The question that followed wasn't meant as a slogan, it was practical. Is he ready? Not whether he will stand at the line on Sundays, but whether he can carry the responsibilities that come with leading a franchise. From Michigan to the pros, his path was defined less by spectacle and more by steady accumulation of practice reps, disciplined habits, and an insistence on doing the small things right. Draft night changed the external circumstances.
It has it. Now we can go all in on the Super Bowl without the contract.
The work that mattered had already begun years before, in high school gyms, late film rooms, and Saturday practices measured in repetitions rather than applause. He entered the league with a resume of consistency and the quiet habits that could scale if the environment allowed them to.
I just want you to know that the most important stat of a quarterback is wins and losses. Tom Brady, yeah, obviously he's got great stats, but his most important stat is that 7 rings he's got on his fingers.
JJ's a winner. If you look from high school through his time in college, he's lost one career game.
At Nazareth Academy, the tape showed a player who executed the process. He did not seek to dazzle. He sought to be dependable. Coaches noticed a repeatable drop, clean mechanics, and an eye that tracked progressions rather than flashes. That foundation carried him to Michigan, a program that demands precision and punishes impulse. In Ann Arbor, he learned how structure becomes a force multiplier. The offense required timing, studied reads, and coordination with a line that moved like a single organism. He adapted by simplifying decisions to what mattered, making the complex legible for the entire unit. Being polished, there was not a cosmetic, it was functional. The environment did not allow carelessness, and he answered with discipline. The film from his college career reflects that orientation. Completion percentages that hold up under pressure, interception totals that stay low when windows collapse, and moments of decisive play in late-game situations. The numbers tell part of the story, but the tape explains why those numbers exist. Throws that arrive at the receiver's stride, anticipation that removes defenders from the catch point, and pocket movement that seeks balance before reaction. He does not manufacture plays with improvisation, he manufactures them with preparation. The result is drives that convert, possession sustained by predictable execution rather than impulsive brilliance. Accuracy separates him from many peers. His ball placement is tactical, aimed where a receiver can continue the play instead of stopping to adjust. Anticipation compresses defensive reaction time. By the time defenders reset, the play is already in progress. That kind of timing is not a flash, it is a habit. Pocket presence is not theatrics for him, it's a measured choreography. He reads rush lanes and steps accordingly, choosing to climb the pocket and buy a beat rather than fling the ball into chaos. Game management, the often misused phrase, becomes his method. He uses tempo, short gains, and situation-aware aggression to move the chains and control the clock. Scouts and coaches gravitate to the polish because reliability is valuable in a league where possessions are finite. The film room insisted on fundamentals: footwork, hips, release. He internalized the details until they became reflex. Leadership emerged from those behaviors, first in the meeting, last to leave the field, the one who trims noise from complex plays and leaves only executable actions. That quiet authority has consequences. Teammates align more closely with a quarterback who reduces the game to manageable tasks. Coaches can call with confidence when the signal caller minimizes uncertainty. Yet professional evaluation is not a eulogy. There are genuine questions on the table. Arm strength does not grade as elite on many measurable scales. Some throws that require raw velocity cut into his margin for error. The label system quarterback follows him because Michigan's offense often masked improvisational requirements and relied on timing and complementary pieces. Critics argue that the NFL will compress windows and deploy disguises that test a quarterback's ability to create on the move. Those concerns are not theoretical. The pro game speeds disguise, rush variety, and coverage complexity increase the demand for both creation and adaptation. His answer pivots not on raw force, but on technique and anticipation. Mechanics transform intention into result. A compact release, paired with precise hip rotation and an accurate footwork pattern, sends the ball into windows before defenders react. Where velocity lacks, placement compensates. The tape shows contested throws won by placement and timing rather than sheer arm power. The strategic use of motion and formation can shift leverage and open corridors that make his style less vulnerable. Good coaches design to magnify strengths and reduce exposure. That is not avoidance. It is the craft of winning within constraints. The team that drafted him did so with specific intentions. A franchise seeking steadiness and a reduction of turnover risk values the traits he offers. Early camp reports highlighted his grasp of the pro playbook, an ability to vary cadence, and a habit of making line calls that reduced confusion before the snap. Veteran players remarked on his preparation, and position coaches noted the speed at which he assimilated adjustments. Those responses do not guarantee success, but they matter because the pro environment rewards the capacity to learn quickly and to apply corrections between appearances. A rookie season will be a continuous exam. The league tests fundamentals first and punishes adherence to old habits that fail at faster speeds. He must show he can handle professional rush schemes designed to collapse his rhythm, that he can extend plays without surrendering accuracy, and that he can respond to turnovers without their mistakes defining an identity. The best young quarterbacks learn quickly from the film room, refine footwork to account for pro pressure, and develop subtle cadence tricks to dislodge blitzes. Early indicators suggested a willingness to do that work. More film, incremental adjustments, and an appetite to isolate errors and correct them. Context matters. Quarterback success exists inside a team ecosystem. Protection, receiver separation, and play calling influence how much his timing-based approach can function. When the line holds and the route tree generates space, his style thrives. When those elements fail, the timing frays. The coaching staff's willingness to tailor concepts to his strengths, using motion, compressed splits, and schemed throwaways, can lengthen his leash. Conversely, expecting him to create explosively on every play is to set him up for failure. The intelligent approach is a steady build that uses his predictive vision to erode opponent's structure over quarters and halves. Comparisons are inevitable, but they often miss nuance. It is less productive to find a single player he resembles than to map how his particular strengths can be exploited strategically. Timing, accuracy, and decision-making translate into extended drives, lower turnover rates, and cumulative scoring advantages. In a league where possessions decide outcomes, those traits convert into wins more reliably than sporadic high yardage without control. His floor is attractive because it reduces negative variance, and his ceiling grows with the team's ability to complement his game. Critics who emphasize arm limitations point to moments where windows shrink and velocity becomes a necessary variable. Those moments will arrive. Historically, quarterbacks with similar profiles have compensated through anticipation, scheming, and skilled play calling. Coaches can use play design to keep defenders off balance and create manageable throws. Rollouts, quick game emphasis, and targeted vertical concepts that align with his strengths reduce exposure while enabling growth. Development matters. The willingness of a staff to adapt and the player's response to corrections will determine trajectory more than headlines. A rookie year is data, not destiny. Mistakes will be public. Corrections must be private but decisive. The pattern of growth favors those who return to fundamentals, study compulsively, and adjust without ego. The position demands repetition and iteration. The quarterbacks who become dependable starters are rarely those who explode immediately. They are the ones who quietly compile improvements until performance becomes durable. His profile aligns with that model if he maintains the discipline that defined him in college. Certain sequences will define early narratives, third and medium situations that require rhythm and poise, 2-minute drives that require reading speed and clock control, red zone windows that demand precision. Each instance will be an objective point informing trend lines. Consistent execution across those moments builds trust from coaches and confidence from teammates. The accumulation of those moments, not a single viral throw, tends to change seasons. Leadership remains his invisible currency. He leads by preparing. That produces fewer mistakes across the unit and creates a clearer field for coaches to operate. Predictability that produces points is preferable to unpredictability that sometimes dazzles. The nature of pro football rewards consistent output from a team system rather than the occasional brilliance of one actor. When critics pivot from film to headlines, reactions will swing. Praise will follow a composed performance. Scrutiny will follow a turnover. The role forces resilience more than charisma. Early signs indicated a capacity for such resilience, a habit of returning to the lab, an eagerness to isolate faults, and a temperament that privileges work over drama. The season will answer readiness in plain terms: drives sustained, fourth-quarter decisions, and performance under pressure. His tools suggest a pragmatic route to impact: reduce turnovers, secure possessions, and allow the team's architecture to convert those traits into points. If he maintains those elements and the staff designs to leverage them, stability can turn into winning. If not, the league will reveal limits. He steps into stadiums where spotlights are harsher and margins thinner, and each correction will be tested. The quiet work that shaped him must scale against defenses that disguise relentlessly and rush with pro-ferocity. If he matches those tests with the same discipline, more film, cleaner drops, smarter footwork, subtler cadence, he can force opponents into reaction. Coaches will then design around his strengths, trusting timing and placement to control drives, and record will follow.